Exactly. So let's go commissioner for a day. Let's go sport by sport. You'll give yours and I'll give mine. Let's start with soccer. Let's start with if you're the president of FIFA, I guess you would say in this. If you're Infantino, what would your rule change around the sport be? Chad Larson is now FIFA president in 2025, and he mandates what?
First off, if I'm Johnny Infantino, I'm going to a meeting and standing side by side next to Bezos, just to prove that they're not the same person, because I'm not 100% sure yet.
No one's ever seen him in the same room.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing is like, and I don't want to be too mean, but with Bezos, he's got the eye. So, you can probably, yeah, exactly. So you can probably distinguish, but I don't know, maybe he throws in like a fake one or something to cover up. But if I'm Infantino, the first thing that I'm doing is, and this is a rule that, you talked about, I would kind of implement across all leagues. I know some leagues kind of do the league table differently and stuff, but if two teams have equal points at the end of the season...
This is your favorite rule.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And this is not just, I want to make this clear, this is not just league title either. This is league title, specific European places. Now, if you're just saying like 10th versus 11th, okay, that doesn't matter. But if it's like, Premier League example of like 4th versus 5th, like 4th and 5th are on the same level number of points, boom, you're playing a one-off match to determine who gets that Champions League spot.
Oh, that one I did. That one I was not prepared for. In the past, Chad has made the argument that I believe this is the rule in Serie A that if teams are equal on points, then it's head-to-head is the first tiebreaker between the two clubs. And
I think it is now, but that's a rule that they just changed recently because they actually used to have the one-off rule, and I think they only did that for the title in Serie A, to be clear. But yep, I would do a one-off match between the teams. The only asterisk is the team with the higher goal differential going into the game gets to be the home team. So I think, I actually kind of like that goal differential still kind of plays a factor in the season, and I think it has more to do with probably the lower teams than it does the teams at the top, usually. But it kind of forces, it's kind of like this underlying rule that forces every team to kind of do, play as hard as they can for the full game. And I know that sounds stupid to say, and it's maybe childish, but it's like, you can't just, like, if you're down, like we see in baseball or something, if you're down 12-2, in the 7th inning, the backup right fielder is coming in to pitch or something like that, because baseball, they just don't give a shit. They value resting the arms. They value resting the arms more so than like getting embarrassed. Versus soccer, where I feel like you really can't do that because of the goal difference and the threat that it plays to the standings. So I do want to keep a small aspect of that, but yeah, I just want to see more one-off games. I know the soccer people will argue, oh, that's not a fair representation of the consistency that it takes to do whatever over a season. This is why I'm saying if they're tied on points. Clearly it means they did something to be in the same spot, and I just would want to see it. So
yeah,
that's my first
I don't hate that at all. Again, the soccer purists will, again, we post this on TikTok. They'll say, do you even watch football? Which is a great piece of analysis.
The Liverpool people were telling you.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of hate on TikTok, and which is fine, honestly. I was wrong, so I'll hold my hands up. I was wrong that Liverpool were 8 points clear in April or March or whatever I said. They were just top for 4 straight months and finished third.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So that's check on me.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it doesn't hurt your point too much, but
yeah. But
so give me yours. Give me just to be clear. Oh, sorry, just one more point on it, just because I did do a bit of research and I want to show off for the Premier League. This rule, I've looked at the possibilities of this rule since 2010. There have only been 3 instances where it would have even happened. So, it's a Halley's Comet type of event, something that would be special. Obviously, United versus City for the title in 2011-2012. Which, you could argue, oh, well, then it takes away the Aguero moment and all that stuff. But my thing is, it still would have gotten them level on points,
Right.
which would have then led to the game. So, still backing it there. 2015-16, funnily enough, again, Man City versus Man United for the last Champions League spot, which City ended up getting on goal difference. But, again, under my rule, got to play another 90. And then 2019-20, Tottenham versus Wolves for a Europa League spot.
RIP to Wolves in 2020, man. That 2020 Wolves side.
I know, right? It was like, man, did I not? It was funny because I was looking back at some of the. It just kind of made me go back and look at the Premier League table. For
Everton
the last
finishing
decade or
fifth
so.
that one year.
I think the Burnley 7th one was still like. I'm like, this is a team that's gone down multiple times since then. Like, not a long period of time.
Sheffield 8th, I think that same Wolves season, maybe. Something like that. It might have been the season before.
Yeah, I think they were in 20. Yeah, I think there was just 1920. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like a lot of weird results throughout the seasons. I mean, Leicester was up there finishing fifth consistently for a couple of years. Then they went down. So always more up and down the Premier League than we give it credit for. Apart from like really that top 4 or 5, depending on who you count in that. So. For me, my rule change is a lot smaller scale, and I think it just contribute to flow of game. If a player stays down on the pitch after any tackle, they are required to wait on the touchline for 1 minute, for one entire minute of the ball being in play. The fourth official will start his watch when the ball starts in play. So it's not just like the guy standing over a free kick for a full minute, and then he can come back on. 1 minute of the ball being in play, because as much as I love to say that it's part of the game, and it definitely is, so I'm not going to deny that, it's just really frustrating seeing these guys either barely get touched or kind of get touched. They grab their ankle, they roll, they win the foul, they get the trainer out, they stretch for 5 minutes, and then they get straight up and get in the box for the free kick, and then they score. And it's like, okay, so how hurt were you? My joke with my fiance, all right, my joke with her is that, is just like, bro, if I was a Premier League player, every single time someone did that, I would be like, trainer, he's really hurt. Come on. So
100%.
So I just think this is going to curb a lot of that. Like Anthony Gordon, like grabbing his ankle and screaming for dear life every single play he gets touched. It's just frustrating to watch. It slows down the flow of the game. And my team is definitely Kai Havertz can't play, actually, so he's resorted to doing that's his whole game now, is just grabbing his ankle and crying. So, I just think the flow of the game would be a lot smoother, and it'll sort of solve 2 issues at once, or 2 or 3 issues, actually. Like diving would go down, and the stoppage times would go down, and it would add to a lot more of just like, hey, you got fouled, get up, let's play. Obviously, you might have to have a little hobble or a little ankle rotation to like kind of get it back in, but we don't need to pull the trainers out, spray the spray, get some water, stretch out, come off for a second, hold the play up, retake the free kick, because then like 4 minutes have gone by, and then somehow at the end of the game, they only add 3 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I actually love that rule. The only problem is, I think John McGinn would probably just hand over the armband. He'd be like, "Hey, this sport isn't even for me anymore. I'm good." I especially love the part where you're saying the ball in play, because Atletico Madrid would easily be the team to be like, "All right, we'll just play with 10 consistently, but the ball will never be in play."
Yeah.
I'll never forget they had a Champions League game. I think it was them versus Liverpool when they beat Liverpool a couple years ago, which I was definitely happy about, obviously. Where I think the ball was in play for I think it was 13 minutes in the second half.
So Atleti, bro. I love Simeone, man. I really do.
Yeah. So well, I mean, you guys have become the Atleti of the Prem.
I've actually thrown my hands up and accepted it, man. We had a throw in against Brighton like 2 weeks ago.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
With literally there's 20 seconds left in the game. It's 1-1. This dude Thomas Partey goes. Saliba's standing wide open, like right 3 yards from him.
Right there.
And he literally, I think the game ends with the ball in his hands, trying to time waste that 1-1.
Today and we're recording this right after the Arsenal United FA Cup match, which Ethan's, he's in a lot better spirits than I was anticipating, so I'm happy about that. But in that game, Odegaard, I actually counted it, stood over a free kick for 87 seconds. Like one free.
Is this the one where he fake took it, like he ran over the ball and then came back?
No, it was one where it was him and Raheem Sterling standing over it, which Sterling standing over a free kick in 2025, that was like, it was for a left footer 100%. That's got to be the most like non-threatening someone has ever stood over a free kick in history.
You want to hear something worse? He was our best attacker today.
Oh, he was. No, he was. It would. I actually look. I mean, I'm joking about the free kick. I actually thought he played well in the game.
Exactly, which pisses me off. I told Savannah, I was like, he's gonna score like 3 goals at the tail end of this season. We're gonna spend $25 million on him, and he's never gonna touch the pitch ever again.
No, come on, you guys can't do that. You can't make the version of the Aubameyang Lacazette mistake for the 3rd time, can you?
Oh, we could. We're very capable of that.
Okay, interesting. I think that one of us that we went, me more on the
administrative side.
Yeah, that you more in the game flow. So interesting there.
Well, for NFL, I went administrative. So did you go on the field?
I went administrative all 3 sports. I'm a company guy. You know how I am.
Yeah, he's financial as hell. So for the NFL, I just don't care that you won the division. I'm sorry. I just don't.
This is interesting because this has actually been getting a lot of talk in the past week. I think this season it's been more of a topic than I've ever seen before.
Yeah,
so that's interesting.
I want you to be in the playoffs, but you're just not getting a top 4 seed.
Okay. NBA rules, basically.
Correct. Where it's just like, congrats, because the most infamous example I remember when I was a really young kid, the Seahawks, did they go 7-9 or 8-8?
7-9.
They went 7-9, won the NFC West, and got in the playoffs. Got a top 4 seed, and it's just like, why are they playing at home? They won 7 games. They probably won 4 games at home, and somehow they get a home game out of it.
The best part is they then went on and won the playoff game, and people were just furious. People were pissed.
Yeah,
I think they beat Minnesota or something like that.
Exactly. So it's like, you can get in. Winner of each division deserves to get in. That kind of goes along with that sort of divisional rivalry, making those divisional games always count, because one of these teams is making it to the playoffs regardless. There were a couple years in the NFC East where everyone was trying their damnedest not to make the playoffs, but obviously you have a team that needs to make it.
Revolving door of division winners for like 10 straight years. I mean,
yeah,
that's just insane.
Exactly. So, and then also sort of like as a caveat to it, so all teams are going to just be seeded according to record. That's number 1.
Yep.
And then this is how the tiebreakers will go. I worked out 4 of them. All right. There's head-to-head, which is obvious. Okay. Then record against other teams in the conference. Other playoff teams in the conference, against other playoff teams. I want to know if you're just beating the shit out of the shitty teams all the time, or are you beating good teams? Yep. Then we have record versus conference overall, and then if it all boils down after that, I want points scored. It needs to be points scored. I want something.
I'm with you.
And I'm okay, actually, if it's points scored or points against. I just want some show of, like, you either value their defense or you value their offense. Point differential would work, too. It's something, obviously, as a soccer person that I've learned to find a lot of value in. Like, so for example, if the Chiefs end up, 15-2, but they've only won games by a margin of 3.5 points every single game, whereas the other 15-2 teams has beaten everyone by like 30 every week, I want that team to be rewarded for it. So I think that would kind of be my administrative rule change in the NFL, sort of tweaking the playoff seeding a little bit.
I don't mind it. The thing that's unique to me, I think, about the NFL is how much they care about the division. Like, to me, more than any other sport, it's like, even when you hear the coaches, and I remember Mike Lombardi, who I think was just an excellent podcaster because he was one of the few guys given the GM side of things at a really good level. he would talk all the time when he was with the Patriots about, yeah, we really emphasize where we ranked compared to the rest of the division. And this is the Patriots, who at the time were doing it as well as anybody. So clearly they had, it's not like they were, they were like, well, we're only valuing the division and we're going 2-14 every year, so we're doing great. Clearly it wasn't that. But the NFL, they care very much about the division. How are we ranking against the division? All this type of stuff. A lot of the division rivalries that have been created. So I like that you're keeping the division aspect still a part of it. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind it. I just think the Seahawks one is just hilarious to me.
I also remember the year the Cowboys, a couple years ago, we had to go down to Tampa Bay, even though we won like three more games than them. We smacked the shit out of them too. But so it kind of ended up not mattering. But
we made Brady retire. That's like our number one. That's like our Cowboys Super Bowl for our fandom.
That's the year that Brett Maher, I think he missed 4 straight extra points in that game.
Yeah, he did. He literally did.
We were up 24-0 and we scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was like the only thing that made you not able to celebrate the game in like the first 2 quarters.
Yeah.
And then of course the next week we went and played I think San Francisco and got worked.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So what's your NFL rule change? Another administrative one. What kind of topic are you tackling?
It is. We're doing a designated player contract. I'm trying to cut down on the NFL movement. I think in a lot of sports, movement is good. I think in the NFL, I kind of value the continuity aspect a bit more.
Yeah.
So this is how the rule is going to go down. Any non-quarterback, cannot be a quarterback, that was drafted by the team and played there for at least 5 seasons.
No salary cap.
So you have to, what's that?
Never mind. Go on.
And then let's say they sign a 5-year contract. Okay. The first year of that contract, 0% of their salary is against the cap. None of it at all. You get like a free year. Then the next 2 seasons, you get at 50%. So, still a really good discount, but you're still obviously paying some of it.
So if someone's making $40 million, only $20 million of that goes into your cap considerations.
Cap.
Okay.
Yep, correct. And then years 4 and 5, and really this could just be year 4 and beyond, 75% of the salary goes against the cap. And the reason why I scaled it that way is because a lot of times those guys are really worth the value in years 6, 7, and 8. And I just wouldn't want it to be one of those things where you still get you still get a lot of help in years 9 or 10, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, we can just sign a guy to 5 or 6 year deal. Who gives a shit? If it doesn't work out, it's not like it's going to kill us. That's why, like, after those first couple years, then you can't just be like, it doesn't matter if he's really contributing for us. We can keep him because he's not hurting our cap. I want there to still be a decision-making, process and a decision-making period, but I want it to be able to keep teams together for at least a little bit longer than they can now.
So, kind of to go along with this rule, is there any cap with it whatsoever? Or could I conceivably say, well, not Patrick Mahomes because you said that, but like Jamar Chase, like, hey, 5 years, $500 million. Obviously, that's not going to be the deal, but like, is that conceivable?
You could do that.
Okay,
you could do that.
Wow. So no cap, no cap to the salary. That's very, very interesting, especially how I feel like that would kind of go the way NIL is right now, where a team would get...
it would be crazy for about 3 years.
Yeah, a team would be like...
People would lose their minds.
Yeah, they'd be like, hey, again, Jamar Chase would probably be a great example. They'd be like, hey, Jamar, 5 years, $300 million. You're getting $60 million a year. And then he'd get hurt like in year 2, and it's like, okay, we're never doing this again. And every team would need to make a mistake or two before they kind of caught on.
Yep. Another caveat that I would throw in there that I actually just thought of with you saying that, there couldn't be... So let's say... We'll just say for simple math, we'll go say a 5-year, $100 million deal.
20 a year.
Correct, in theory. But the way the NFL does it, they like to sometimes front load the deals where they're putting, let's say they put like $40 million in the first year of it, and then it's kind of like structured a little bit differently. The cap charge will be equal throughout the deal. So you can give them, 5 for 100, and you can give them, 50 million of cash in the first year of the deal. But regardless of how you structure it, it's still going to count against the cap.
2020.
Yeah, or not. It's not going to count against the cap that way, but just the cap number is going to be out of that every year. So obviously the first year is 0, then 10, 10, and then 15, 15. So
yeah, because that would lead to teams being like, hey, we're giving you 5 years, 100 million. The first year, since it doesn't count, 90, and then we're going to go 10, 10, 10. So that's a good caveat right there. I really like that.
No, okay. NBA. Let's get to it. I'm gonna actually give mine first.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go again, because this actually applies to not only you but the Cavs as well. I'm getting rid of the Stepien rule. Do you know what the Stepien rule is? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Who doesn't? No, I have no idea what that is.
It's the rule where you cannot trade consecutive first-round picks. It was named after former Cavs owner Ted Stepien, who owned the team from 80 to 83.
I just forgot that. It just slipped my mind.
Yeah. So in that 3-year run, Cleveland 66 and 180. So averaging 22 and 60 per season under Stepien. Traded away 6 consecutive first-round picks in that time period, and had 6 head coaches in 3 years, including 4 in 1 year. All this to say, I think Ted Stepien is probably the worst person to ever get a rule named after him, or like a bill named after him, or anything like that. Or not worst person, sorry, most incompetent at the thing that they're getting a rule for.
I think inherently
at their job.
I think inherently the Allen Houston rule, by definition,
at least was good. Allen Houston, while I agree at the time it was atrocious, he still had a point in time where clearly someone was like, hey, he's worth, X amount of money.
When you have a rule named after, hey, if a guy's so shitty you can cut his ass, and it's named after you, then it's not even used on you, which is also insane. Yeah. I feel like you get a special place in everyone's heart.
It is a good counter. It is a good counter, to be fair, and I can't disagree with it that well. But the Stepien numbers are just, outrageous.
Okay, so you're getting rid of that.
Yeah. So you can trade whenever you want, whenever you want, and I would honestly just love to see it happen for one specific guy, and that would be Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, because I think he's in that period, new owner syndrome, and he's in that period where
he's still splashing.
He's capable of doing anything right now. Like, if you lifted it, him and Ballmer would be competing against each other to see who could give up 10 first-round picks for a 6-man first.
Yeah, that's hilarious because I always think that rules about, like, salary caps and, trading away picks are so funny because they're like, hey, there are some GMs or some owners that we have that are so stupid that we actually have to make rules that they can't be as stupid as they want to be. And I just want a free market in these sports. Yeah. Because people are always bitching about like the Yankees or the Mets or guess who hasn't won a World Series in forever? Those two teams. I know the Yankees won one in 2009, but it's like, just because you have the most money isn't like, well, if there's no salary cap, then this team's going to win every time. Clearly, that's why Man United wins the league every year. Clearly, that's why the Yankees win the title every year. Like, of course, it's going to help, but it's not like guaranteed. Like, oh, if we don't spend a $1 trillion, then we can't win. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's just these dudes are stupid. They want to give Juan Soto $770 million over 15 years. So I don't.
And honestly, like the amount of, and I know we've done it extensively on soccer, and I know basketball is the same, and I'm sure if you looked at baseball, it'd be the same as well. But here's the largest, like the percentage, the amount of times where the largest contract in the history of the sport ends up working out is so, like when it's a free agent, especially, is probably so little. Like it's not. Like, it's not creating an advantage one way or the other, exactly like you said, the way people would think it would.
Literally the only one that has worked out in like recent memory was Pat Mahomes getting that 10-year, $500 million contract. Like,
yeah. And even that one, like the ones with the incumbent team, I don't really put into the same category. But I'm just talking about like the free agency where it's because that's what it would be.
Yeah.
You know, people would be worried about, I guess. Or,
that's why I don't count the T-Law contract.
I think the Jags fans are hoping that they can't count it either, but unfortunately, I think it's counting.
Yeah.
I think it's counting.
Yeah, that's terrible. So, my NBA start talk. First off, I want to say I promise it's going to be a minute or less. Okay, can we stop with the people bitching? Like, oh, bro, if they called travels and carries, then we would actually watch basketball. Shut the hell up, bro. You're not sitting there watching the NBA and being like, dude, that was a travel. I'm turning this crap off. Like, no one's doing that. Like, LeBron will have like a dunk, or Giannis will have like a dunk. It's like, he took one dribble in the other half of the court. Can you believe he can do that? He's ruining the game. Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah. And it's like a 1-on-0 fast break.
Yeah.
No one's in front of him.
I'm like, I don't
think him having to put the ball on the ground the second time would have stopped him from scoring.
And then they'll turn around and be like, yeah, the Jordan shot against the Jazz, greatest shot of all time. Even though he shoved the shit out of the guy. I love that. But Giannis
walking. Not if you ask Kenny Smith. Not if you ask Kenny Smith.
Well, he got lost in the shake, and then he guided him. He guided him away. But anyway, yeah, so I'm not in one of those guys that's like, we need to have, these guys hunker down on the rules or whatever stupid shit people like to say. I'm actually going to shout out a YouTube channel that I got this from. It's called AM Hoops. It went under his category of crazy suggestions, but I actually thought about it and I was like, dude, that'd be really, really fun. Each team before the season,
I love this rule,
gets to draw their own 3-point line.
Yep. Zach Lowe has been a fan of this one for at least a decade.
And so
let
me kind of explain it to people that have never heard of this. So,
sure.
The way that I put it out is there'd be a minimum and a maximum. So the minimum would be 20.5 feet, which I believe is the college 3-point line. And then 24 feet would be the maximum because that just eliminates the corner threes. So it's kind of like you can kind of play with anything inside there. And it's kind of rule is kind of based off of baseball, because if you don't keep up with baseball, literally the outfield fences, you would think like, oh, everyone has an outfield fence that's 380 feet all the way around, or standardized and something like that. Not true. There are teams that have like 285, like whatever the Yankees have in left field.
Yeah,
where it's I
love seeing the stat where it's like this is the only stadium it would be a homer in.
Yeah, exactly. They got like 289 down the left field line, 420 to center field, all this other stuff. And then there are some teams that are like have huge fields that they're just like, I want to push it all the way back, and that actually differentiates their roster construction. They're like, well, we play in a small ballpark. We don't really give a shit about pitching because guys are going to give up a shit ton of home runs. Our pitchers are going to give up a shit ton of home runs anyway. So we might as well just focus on getting the best bats we can possibly get so that we can hit more home runs than the other team hits. Yeah. And it differs. Exactly. The Rockies in Coors Field are famous for being like, hey, if you hit a ball in the air, it's probably going out. And it also even applies to soccer. For those of you that don't know, there is a range of field sizes. It has to be between these two widths, it has to be between these two lengths. And so some of the smaller clubs will try and make it as small as possible so that people don't have as much room to play, whereas teams like Arsenal, Man City will try to make it as big as possible so they have as much room to play in as they possibly can. So this also kind of go on.
I was just going to say that just was like if you watched the Tottenham game today, like I know you did, that honestly, that field looked like it could have fit inside the 18 of some other stadium. It's like, I was like, my God.
It looks like some of the high school fields that we played on at Bethel.
Yeah, exactly.
So it adds a little bit of differentiation, and also one of the big talking points, whether it's true or not, I don't know. A lot of people have been like, well, I don't like watching the NBA because it's the same thing over and over again. With this rule, it wouldn't be. They're like, you know what? We're going to make it a huge 3-point line so that you can only make threes from like 25 feet out, and so it's going to be hard as shit to make threes. So we're going to have a big ass team. We're going to have guys that can score on the interior, guys that are good mid-range jump shooters, so then we can kind of, because we have a big-ass court or a big-ass three-point line. Other teams would be like, hey, we're going to have a small three-point line. And I'm kind of interested to see, I would be interested to see what the Warriors would do if they'd make it huge because Steph can hit it from anywhere, or if they'd make it super short, or if they'd make it super short because it's like, well,
he could hit more.
Let's say every single shot he'd take would be like a three. And so,
yeah.
And even that, like teams trying to decide, like, we have this kind of team. Should we make it really big, kind of big, keep it normal? We have a lot of corner three shooters, so we're going to make it small and have those guys be corner three shooters. So I think it just adds a little bit more variation into the game. And again, really, really cool suggestion from AM Hoops that differentiates roster construction, and also home field advantage will be a thing. Imagine a finals where one team has the smallest 100%. Three-point line in the league and the other one has the biggest, and they're going back and forth. It's like, oh, hey, whoever, Christian Brown, no corner threes because they don't exist.
The series where I think about it, where it would have made perfect sense in NBA history, was the Grizzlies versus Warriors in the second round in 15. When, Warriors, even then, most threes, they were definitely taking the most threes in the league at the time. And then the Grizzlies, who were obviously still built out of the post and mid-range and all that type of stuff. The one question I have, I want to clarify, would it have to be the same distance all the way around, or could you be like, hey, I wanted 24 feet at the top of the key and I wanted 20 feet 9 inches in the corners, or would it have to be the same?
I hadn't thought about that, but I would like it to be kind of however you would want it. Like if you want it to be super deep at the top of the key, but then also have corner threes, you can do that. If you're just like, you know what, we can't shoot threes for shit, we're just going to push it all the way out so that no one can shoot corner threes against us. Yeah.
To me, that's what would make sense for the Warriors, I think, would be would be a big... Sorry, Mbappe's one-on-one. Killian, and he was on sides, no doubt.
No one had me, probably wouldn't.
But that's the thing. I think if you were a team like the Warriors, you'd probably have the short three-pointer in the corners because you still want to have that aspect to your game. But then do the long distance, from straight on or like kind of the arced part. Because you have those shooters like Steph and Clay. Because, it's not like those guys are going to be shooting corner threes. Obviously, I know Clay's not there anymore.
I'm about to say Clay got it.
Historically. Well, Buddy Hield, if you're going to talk about three-point shooters, he's definitely
there. That's a foul on Vinny.
Oh, no chance. Get out of here. If they call, I'm going to be so mad.
I'm going to be so mad. So jokes. But just wondering, were there any, I know we gave one per sport, but were there any either in a different sport that you thought of or any where you had, a different one that you kind of had to cut out because you either didn't think about it enough or you just didn't prioritize it?
Soccer, I did have a backup rule where if you want to bitch about your team's financials, you have to contribute to a fund. That one's just like, God. I just hate that one so much. Look.
Is this a Barca thing, or?
No. I'm talking more about, like, I would say more so about teams kind of complaining about, oh man, the team only wants to make money, or like the team is only selling this guy for money, stuff like that, or, and it's so, I tell you, it's so weird because soccer, I think, is the only sport where people would complain about their team spending money. Like, I swear to God, it'd be like, man, how could we sign this guy for this money? Or like when people, the one that kills me the most is when people complain about who's on the shirt sponsor. Like, how does it align? How does it align ethically with, the team or something? It's like, dude, unless you're going to be paying to be the shirt sponsor, then I don't want to hear it ever again.
Oh my God, they let Spotify buy the rights to the stadium, and now we get $1 billion. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
But we also can't buy players, so I'm going to get pissed off about that too. Like, what are you talking about?
By the way, speaking of Spotify, I'm only calling Barca Stadium the Spotify Camp Now from now on. So, because it's so funny because they're like, oh man, we're the team that does it right.
Tradition.
Yeah, tradition,
La Masia.
family. Yeah, all this bullshit. And then it's like, hey, we'll sell literally any part of the club we can.
And still can't buy any players.
To register Pau Vitor. Which is the funniest thing of all time when he gets lumped in, because I'm like, I wish there was like a point where they had to make a decision between the two of them of like who to register. And they'd be like, ooh, sorry, Pau, but we were just throwing you a bone, putting your name into consideration there.
God.
So yeah, I mean, none really that I was thinking of. Was there any that you had then, or?
No, because I just really went for things that personally piss me off about each sport. I really like that. I really like that rule
that's
though.
Your MO.
Yeah, it's just when we did the what was the things we hate about the Premier League a couple weeks ago. That was a heartfelt episode for me. That meant a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. I know this is kind of like a follow-up to that more so than anything. So just kind of getting out all the grievances you couldn't let out in that episode, which I understand and I respect.
Yeah.